If you have a look at a lot of modern day bodybuilders, a lot of it's quite overdone. A lot of them are actually just packing on far too much muscle and they're trying too much to evenly distribute it throughout each muscle group. So what happens when you put on too much muscle and you're distributing it out evenly and whatnot, and you're not prioritizing certain muscle groups over others, is it gets to the point where it actually spoils your physique and it looks like it's actually just too much. A lot of these bodybuilders look like they've just got too much muscle and it just doesn't look aesthetic. The reason why I started my bodybuilding journey wasn't just to try and pack on as much muscle as possible and to try and look like a bodybuilder, but it was actually to create that aesthetic, was to actually build muscle in a way that it actually looks appealing and looks attractive. So in this video, I'm going to go over exactly the steps that I took, which helped me to build kind of like that lights out Greek god kind of physique, which prioritizes muscles which are more aesthetic and kind of gives you that more like appealing, attractive look than as opposed to bodybuilding. So if you have a look at some of the most appealing male physiques, a lot of them actually they don't have even distribution of muscle throughout all of their body. They actually tend to prioritize certain muscles quite a bit more. And the reason why they do this is because there's certain muscles which just kind of make your physique pop out a lot more and which makes you actually look quite a lot more aesthetic and also more attractive, more appealing. And this is actually the reason why most people actually want to start their bodybuilding journey. They want to actually just look nicer. They want to look more aesthetic and more attractive. However, a lot of people just end up taking it too far and they just have too much muscle in certain places which just aren't as appealing and actually kind of take away from the rest of their physique. So what does the most appealing and attractive and aesthetic male physique actually look like? Well, the most attractive male physique is one where you've actually got less emphasis on certain muscles that kind of make your physique look more blocky. So these are things like having a wide waist, having like tree trunk legs, or having a really wide back. And if you start to prioritize muscles that actually make your physique kind of like pop out and look more aesthetic. So these are muscles like your shoulders, your upper chest, and also your ab muscles, and also having your lats as well, so building up your mid back. So if you can actually build these muscles, these are kind of the muscles which people notice when you walk into a room. And these are the muscles that have actually been proven and backed by studies to show that these are the most attractive muscles in the body. So if you want to build that aesthetic physique that actually pops out and looks really nice, start to actually have a physique that looks more like where you've got a thin waist and then it kind of builds up and you've got these muscles groups up the top where you've got your shoulders, your upper chest and your abs. These are the muscle groups that you really need to prioritize to make them pop out, to give you that aesthetic look. So the golden ratio, which is the shoulder to waist ratio, is between 1 to 1.6 to 1.8. So that means that the width of your waist should be, if this was 1 for example, then the width of your shoulders should be 1.6 times the width of your waist, or somewhere between 1.6 times to 1.8 times the width of your waist. So this has been backed by studies to be shown as it's actually hardwired for humans to find this the most attractive, and this is by far the most appealing ratio. So it's important to keep this in mind, that you're not prioritizing to just build as much as muscle throughout your physique, because you want to actually have a thin kind of waist, which then builds up into like what's called a V-taper, where you have wide shoulders which lead down to a thin waist. Because this has actually been proven to be the most attractive, the most appealing, and the most aesthetic male physique. If you want to check out my paid program, I'll link that down in the description below. It's on pre-sale now for $49. And it just goes through my current workout routines. I've got a push-pull legs and an upper-lower split in there. And then in addition to this, I've got 2 hours worth of modules on training, dieting, testosterone, and workout routines. So if you want to check that out, it's going to be the first link in the description. So the way that you can target these muscles more is by restructuring your workout routine around these aesthetic muscle groups. So for example, on your push day, if you were doing chest, shoulders, and triceps, I would put an upper chest movement right at the start of the workout routine. And I would do this because when you're less fatigued, you've got the most energy. You want to be spending that energy prioritizing this muscle group, like the upper chest, which has been proven to really give you that aesthetic look. So what I would do as well is I would kind of take away a few exercises from some of the other muscle groups, which are less important, for example, and I would actually distribute a lot of that volume and put that into the muscle groups, which are going to give you that aesthetic look. So for example, you might take a few sets or maybe one or two exercises away from your triceps and then put this into your upper chest and your shoulder workout during your workout. And the reason why this is effective and you can't just keep adding on more exercises into your workout routine is because the human body actually fatigues really quickly. So per workout, you should only really be doing about 12 to 15 sets total. Or if you do anything beyond this, you're actually just wasting your time. It's been proven to be less effective. And it can also backfire and lead to more fatigue. So the next time you go into your workout, you're kind of bringing this fatigue over and your workout's going to be less productive. So because you only have a certain amount of sets which you can use, I highly recommend that for each workout, you prioritize the muscle groups, you do them right at the start of your workout, and you're also trying to take some mass away from some of the other muscle groups which are less important and put these into the muscle groups like the shoulders, upper chest, your lats, and your abs. And I'd prioritize these in this way. So one mistake which I've seen a lot of modern day bodybuilders kind of make is just having tree trunk legs. And this isn't really a bad thing. However, I have just found that if you build up your legs too much, it gets to the point where it's not aesthetic anymore and it just tends to overshadow your upper body and it just makes it look less pronounced. So although it is positive to build up your legs and everything and it is kind of hyped up a lot nowadays, just be mindful that if you do build it up to an extent, if you have a look at your physique, it's just going to start to overshadow your upper body and that's going to really actually take away from the aesthetic look that you're trying to create. And it's going to kind of lead to a physique that's less attractive and less appealing. So, personally, I only really train my legs once a week. This is still enough to actually keep building muscle, although you are leaving a few days on the table there where you are fully recovered. You can still build muscle in this way. You just have to prioritize different muscle groups. One final tip that I want to leave you with is you should actually be eating... One final tip which I want to leave you with is to eat in a slight calorie surplus. So if you want to build on muscle and pack muscle, you should be eating and consuming more calories than what you're burning. And the way that you can actually calculate this is by taking the body weight that you have and then multiplying this by 15. So your body weight in pounds and then multiply this by 15 and that's how many calories you should be eating per day. So if you have a set weight that you want to get to, maybe you want to put on 5 kgs or 10 pounds or whatever it is, I would take that weight, the ideal weight that you're aiming for, and multiply that by 15. And that's going to give you the exact amount of calories that you need to be in a slight surplus and to actually build up the muscle to get to where you want to be. So that's another final tip which I can give you. If you want to build up your muscle groups, make sure that you're eating in a calorie surplus. It doesn't have to be too much of a surplus, but just a slight surplus is going to give your body the essential macronutrients it needs to kind of go through that hypertrophy process and to build muscle.